Hello and welcome everyone. I'm your host Stefan Burns, geologist, geophysicist, space weather guy, here with your update on what is happening with the Earth. And it is a big update because we have had a lot happen. I have been gone for a few days, as many of you probably have noticed, because, well, the power went out for where I am for 3 days. We had effectively a tornado roll through. Now, there's been no official classification of a tornado going through the area because these storms that hit on July 4th were a bit of a sleeper. There have been tornadoes coming down in China, and of course, there's tornado alerts in other places of the US, but in Pennsylvania, we had almost a tornado. There was tons of vorticity and swirling and mixing in the atmosphere. I saw that with my own eyes. I mean, it was crazy. The biggest evidence is that we had tons of trees coming down. That's what knocked out the power for, what, 50,000 customers in my area and like hundreds of thousands across the eastern seaboard for the United States. The trees all came down in different directions. Wind gusts up to 80 miles per hour, which is right at that tornado classification, right? EF1 tornadoes, that's like the wind speed that they have. So that was crazy. We got through that. Thankfully, where I am, I installed a small solar setup, about 800 watts and a 1 kilowatt hour battery. That now just got upgraded to 2 kilowatt hours because clearly 1 kilowatt hour is not enough in terms of a long-term power outage. But that was a big deal. Well, I'm not going to say never, but storms like that don't hit this area all that often. Often we get a lot of rain, but nothing like that. Now, that's just one part of this story, though. We are right now just entering into a coronal hole high-speed stream of solar wind. And, well, we talk about these quite a bit because they are very, very clearly correlated with high magnitude earthquake activity. And as I've said before, it's very hard to get more causal than the sun. There's this phrase of correlation does not equal causation that's just parroted about, but guess what? Sometimes the correlation's there because it is causal. There is a causative factor. So we see this over and over and over. We're in this coronal hole high-speed stream. The earthquake forecast I put out about a week ago is from the 9th of July, from when I expected this to occur, and well, today's the 9th of July, 2026, through the 14th, which is when we have the new moon. We didn't get any high magnitude earthquakes during the past week, which I wasn't expecting any. And now we have this coronal hole high-speed stream impact, and well, the next 5 days are looking spicy. The bigger story here is that Earth electrification clearly is accelerating. We have this El Nino coming in. This El Nino is looking to be probably the strongest El Nino ever observed. If it comes in at a peak strength of 3.6 degrees centigrade, then that would be 0.7 degrees centigrade stronger than the El Nino record that was set in 1877, which was a big one. And these El Ninos are linked to changes, of course, in weather across the planet. You have some places that have drier conditions, other places have wetter conditions. So this can lead to drought, this can lead to flooding and things like lahars and stuff. And of course, you also have linked with a lot of the really historic El Ninos, famine and disease and pestilence. So there's big issues with El Ninos. But this coronal hole high-speed stream impact is happening right now. The earthquake watch is in effect, but because we've had such strong activity over the past 2 weeks or so, actually about 3 weeks of solar activity, there's a potential for something really big to occur in the next 5 days. And I really think this is just the beginning of a bigger wave of overall Earth energy activity. Like we're talking big cycles here. Earth electrification really is going nuts right now. And I don't think that's about to let up anytime soon. So it really seems like this is a pretty historic moment for the Earth geologically. Not like things like this have never occurred before, but pretty rare on the geologic time scale, which is the thing to keep in mind. Okay, because on the human time scale, this is certainly unique. On the geologic timescale, this is also unique. It is new, a new chart path forward for the Earth. Like, yeah, go back 50 million years ago and things could be considered crazy in certain aspects, or 500 million years ago, but we're talking millions of years. So this is the sort of Earth electrification that we could see. This occurred back on the 21st of January of this year when we had that huge solar storm impact, which could have been much bigger if it had the magnetic field configuration to connect to Earth. It was volatile at the beginning with its magnetic field, allowing some connection, and then it flipped northward, which isn't the field strength, the polarity needed for a strong connection. That's actually the connection that Jupiter needs. Jupiter was right behind the Earth. Planetary geometry is connected into all of this. But look at this pulsing of the aurora. I mean, this is crazy. You don't see this every single day. So we have a lot of things happening. Heat domes over Europe, heat dome over the east coast of the United States, which led to that crazy storm. Or storms on July 4th, which basically were like mini tornadoes, maybe like EF0 is what you could call them. I mean, there was times where everything was just swirling, and I got hit by that as it expanded out and went like this to me. Thankfully, I was fine. We also are having, well, we had, for example, what was it? Cyclone, or well, super typhoon Bavi sweep over Guam and some of the islands, Northern Mariana Islands. That was super destructive. Now it's not a super typhoon anymore, but still very, very strong. That is barreling towards Taiwan at the moment. Then China's been having these tornadoes. They've been having earthquakes and earthquake lightning. Tons of magnitude 5 earthquakes have been hitting China. And just, there is a metamorphosis occurring for the Earth at this moment in time. It's a new beginning. She's shedding her old skin and old structures and transforming herself as the Earth does. This is an inherent principle of the Earth to do this, as it is an inherent principle for us to do as well, to repair, to regenerate, to grow, to transform, to metamorphose. That's what's happening. So there are going to be some big events that will occur as a result of that. There are already big events that have occurred as a result. This solar storm impact being one of them. The solar storm impacts back in May of 2024 were part of that. The historic magnitude 8.8 megaquake that struck Kamchatka, July of 2025. That's part of that. All the magnitude 7s that hit Japan. The Great Tohoku earthquake, 2011. The Great Sumatra earthquake, 2004. Like, things are certainly reaching new levels of activity. And so I think there's very likely a risk of a megaquake going forward in the next few days. But just in general for this year, 2026, we usually get actually one magnitude 8 or greater earthquake every single year. The last one, well, that was back in July 2025 with the magnitude 8.8 megaquake. Here's our 7.8 earthquake that struck the Philippines right here. This is our global seismic activity level for the past 90 days. Here we see our earthquakes that hit Venezuela and Japan. So this is a 7.5 and 7.2 in Venezuela, and then a 7.2 in Japan. And we see that we had some high magnitude 6 earthquake activity spread out across here. Look at this really nice ramp up there. The last few days, this really nice ramp up. This is today. The earthquake activity today has been low. But you often see that low days are followed by high days. Not every time, but often you see these low days are followed by high days. So with this coronal hole high-speed stream impact right now, I think that is basically coming in. And this is on top of a solar storm impact that's also now launched from the sun. You'll see here, sorry for the flashing, it's because of the time of year, there's the Earth getting in front or something, I don't know. But see that spread right there? That was a 2.7, I believe, M-class or C-class flare. But you see the coronal hole. You see this new sunspot region there that's growing, 4485. This is 4482. It's been active with a 1.3 X-class flare, 2 M-class flares, actually maybe more than 2 M-class flares. A good bit of activity. Yeah, three M-class flares. And Then you see this, you also see this plasma filament launch there, that huge plasma filament launch out right there. That's all going to Venus. We have inferior conjunction of Mercury on the 12th of July. So that's a Mercury Cazimi. Mercury is like, well, you can't see it with this, but it's like here. It's going to move in front. We'll check it out in just a second. And then we have the new moon on the 14th. So everything is lining up. Let me show you this solar storm that launched out from the sun. Here we have our stereo head imagery. So we can see this, and we'll get it going right here. So this is looking, basically the sun, the earth is right here. This is the sun, the earth is right there. We're looking from the side. And you see this solar storm come out. And yeah, you get along a lot of density there going to the south, but you also get a lot there going to the, basically right along the ecliptic plane. So that looks like it's going to hit us. Now we can look at this with our NASA model, our space weather model here by NASA, and you'll see this go out. And so they show it going slightly there, more towards the west solar coordinate system. But in general, it's still sweeping by the Earth and hitting us pretty well. And you see it combining with this high-speed stream. So that's already come in. It's going to sweep up right behind it. That's what this is showing. So in about probably 3 days, maybe around the Mercury Cazimi, we'll have that hit us. We see it's north-south orientation here. So south is right there, north is right there. It's annoying not being in my normal place where I have a swivel chair I can move around. But regardless, we see this go out right there along the ecliptic plane. Boom, direct shot. Only 2.7 C-class flare, but that wasn't really, only a small solar flare was needed to release that plasma. So let's give it a look here with our coronagraph imagery. And we'll see what this looks like. We'll see a couple other things in here as well. So check this out. Here's our coronagraph imagery, and you'll see it come out there to the south. So not the strongest signature on this in the coronagraph, but it definitely launched some stuff basically right our way. So in about 3 days, that's going to come in. We're already into solar storm impact. So we're looking at more active geomagnetic activity for the next few days. And these high-speed streams are really the ones that are directly connected to earthquake activity. They act as a really efficient trigger. And also when these coronal holes are on the sun consistently for many rotations, they load energy into the earth and into fault systems due to, in general, the reverse piezoelectric effect, whereas electric charge can induce mechanical strain. So the piezoelectric effect is when you squeeze on something, a crystal lattice, that pops out free electrons and generates an electric signal. A really good example of that that's relevant to all of us is if you put a heavy barbell on your back, right, you will generate piezoelectric signals from your bones and from your fascia and your connective tissues because they have crystal lattices to them, and bones in particular have copper ions embedded in them which contain abundant free electrons, and that actually generates a bioelectric signal that signals your bones to increase their density. So that's really cool. So that's a very directly relevant example of piezoelectricity. The reverse piezoelectric effect, again, is the electric signal passing through a material induces strain and stress. So these coronal holes, as they continuously rotate, they load that into the earth. Now you'll see something else in here if you're really good at looking at the coronagraph and you know what's happening with the planets. Can you find it? I'll give you a hint. It's the bottom half of the coronagraph that something interesting is happening. It's actually two things, but we'll do one at a time. And I don't think we can see the other one with this coronagraph. I think it's too dim. Okay, well here's the reveal. There we have Mercury. Mercury right now is in between the sun and the earth. We clearly see that it's quite a bit south of the sun because it's along the bottom of its inclination of its orbit. But see how it's moving faster than everything else? Mercury's currently retrograde, and as a result, it's moving the same direction as the background stars. We keep the sun fixed in place, and in fact, it's the Earth that's moving around the sun, giving it this appearance of the stars moving. But we see that Mercury is moving faster there. So Mercury Cazimi will be right around the 12th. All right, we're going to have that right around the 12th. And I'll show you that on our solar system scope. But before I do, let's look here, because we will see a tiny little sun grazer comet. Like very, very tiny. I'm going to have to look closely to see if I can even pick this up actually. We may have to go to my Twitter page where it shows up a little better. I think we're going to have to do that. So let's go to my Twitter page. I think I do have it up. Yeah, we'll go back to that too. That's about El Nino. But someone caught this. Big shout out to who is it? It was Plum here. Big shout out to Plum for catching this. You'll see the tiniest little sun grazer come in. Right there, see that? The tiniest little sun grazing comet flying in. So just a little bit of a interesting thing to point out. I mean, well, we technically don't know it's a sun grazing comet. So I really, if I want to be really precise, it looks like a sun grazer. It's probably a sun grazer. It could be anything. Who knows? But that is interesting. So we have two things appearing in the chronograph, as you can tell. Mercury and also this little comet. Our little friend who unfortunately has now been vaporized. But we won't hold it against them. They tried their best. So here we have our model of the solar system so we can see what's happening. Now, if you remember back to this activity here, and we'll watch this again, that right there, that double sequence, that all launched out towards Venus. So Venus was just energized quite a bit by that, because it's actually probably impacting Venus right about now. If we go back to the beginning again, we'll see this launch out first, boom shakalaka, and then a big boom shakalaka with that guy. That's all launching towards Venus. Here we see why. Here is the geometry of our solar system, the inner solar system right now. We have Earth right here, there's Mercury, there's the Sun, there's Venus. So you see that's basically in line with Venus. You see that Mercury is nearly Cazimi. It'll be Cazimi right around the 13th. The 12th and 13th of June, right about there. And then you'll notice, watch the moon. The moon then comes in on the 14th for a new moon. So we have a Sun, Mercury, Moon, Earth alignment right around the 14th of July. Now we'll be at the tail end of that high-speed stream impact on the 14th of July. So it's almost like maybe when we get this Moon, Mars, Uranus alignment. See this? On the 11th and 12th, when we have Mercury, Cazimi, but we have Earth, Moon, Mars, Uranus alignment, maybe that's when we get something bigger. If we really have to forecast dates. But just in general, the 9th to the 14th is the prime time. And the bigger story here, and one reason why I think, I mean, this is my speculation and many others, but I truly believe this. There's plenty of data to support this too, but I truly believe this. Earth is undergoing like this really big new awakening metamorphosis process. And I, in general, call this Earth electrification. But it's more than just that. It's more than just electrical activity and storms and such. It's also earthquake activity, volcanic activity. Everything's just getting more energetic. So we have the planets in an incredible configuration right now. You have Pluto, 60 degrees to Neptune, 60 degrees Uranus, 60 degrees to Jupiter, forming a basket configuration. And it actually almost looks like a Fibonacci spiral. Really cool. So we have sacred geometry right now in the solar system. And basically, I mean, that specific geometry we can't find in historic record. You zoom the clock back thousands of years, we can't find that. So it's not like it's never happened before. It probably has, but this is very, very unique. And I think this is really just a sign of the tremendous transformation that the Earth is going through at this moment in time. So historic planetary geometry, that is active, paired with a historic El Nino. As we can see, here's our sea surface temperature anomaly map. And this El Nino that's shaping up for 2026, 2027. In fact, El Ninos can actually last a little bit longer than that too. Like some of the historic ones, they have time periods of like 79 to 84. So this could be a longer process than just what we're seeing right here. But tropical Pacific waters are running nearly 7 weeks ahead of where they've ever been at this point in an El Nino cycle in modern history. This post is written here by, I think it's Colin McCarthy. Yeah, so he tracks this stuff. He's pretty good. Models now put the peak strength at 3.6 degrees Celsius on the relative oceanic Nino index, a new standard for measuring El Nino that adjusts for background ocean warming from climate change, which is interesting. So this is even like adjusted for that. This would beat the previous record of December 1877, the strongest El Nino ever observed, by 0.7 degrees Celsius. In the context of climate, that's completely blowing the previous record out of the water. For context, an El Nino is informally considered a super El Nino when for 3 months the Nino 3.4 index is 2 degrees C or above. This is, again, right now peaking at 3.6. So almost double. Frankly, expect extreme climate and weather impacts over the next 12 to 18 months. You put this at the end of a solar cycle 25, a maximum period, which has been pretty strong. We've had tons of solar flare activity just in the past couple weeks. X flares, M flares. We have more sunspots coming back. G3 geomagnetic storm with that last impact. We can look at the solar wind right here, actually. Here we see our real-time solar wind, and we see our solar wind velocity is clicking in right now at about 567 kilometers per second. So it peaked up there at 600. Now it's at 567. Our magnetic field isn't terribly strong. Our density is about normal, but we're clearly in this high-speed stream now. If you go back, and we can zoom here so you can see the KP index, you see that we've had a bit of a positive, well, we've had a good connection to the solar wind, as you can see with our BZ there. So our geomagnetic activity has gone up, but we've never reached a G1 storm from this over the past few days. But here's our G3 storm right there. So G3 plus with this 7.33, that was from a variety of solar wind turbulence and solar storm impacts. And it was here in Pennsylvania, 1 hour after that 1.3 X-class flare, that we had this crazy storm hit us. Now, it obviously already existed, but it still wasn't sunset yet. It was like just before dusk. So we're still in the Earth, the sun facing, the sunlit side of the Earth. It's still the sunlit side. So that solar flare hits, instantly ionizes the atmosphere, the upper atmosphere, the ionosphere, and then that storm just went totally berserk while the G3 storm was happening. And also, if we go back here one more time, guess what also was happening on July 4th, right? This is such a perfect case study for what I talk about, because on July 4th, let's go back. Look at this. You also had a perfect Earth, Mars, Uranus conjunction on July 4th in the constellation of Taurus. Taurus represents the Earth. It represents a fixed Earth that's not really changing or moving. Uranus is an archetypal agent of change, of awakening. Mars is an agent of energy and of severing and of action. So, and Uranus is connected into earthquake activity, electrical activity, storm activity. He's the original sky god, for God's sake, right? It was Uranus and it was Gaia. So it was Earth and sky. He is the OG sky god. And you have Mars there energizing, awakening him in Taurus. And what? We have this gigantic electrical storm where trees are blowing down all over. You really can't make it up. It's a perfect signification. So not only did we have the G3 storm, we had the solar flare activity with an X flare as well. And we had this planetary alignment, at least where I was on the planet. Tons of activity, power outage for 3 days. Some people I think are still without power, but I think just a few people now, but tens of thousands without power. And look here, we had an outbreak of tornadoes in China. just a couple days afterwards. This was July 6th here. EF2 tornadoes. 11 people killed. This, though, was updated on the 7th of July, so maybe more now. 2 tornadoes swept across central China. The Hubei province. Sorry, I'm not saying that correctly. But very rare for the area. And we can give that a watch. So I'll turn myself off. There's that tornado. This is also mid-latitude, right? China's at the same mid-latitudes as the United States. So that's where a lot of this volatility is going to be, because you have the equator being the equator. You see the power going out there. The equator is the equator. It's actually fairly stable at this temperature. The poles are where you have the extreme weather, and you have the extreme changes in light from summer to winter. The mid-latitude regions are what connects the two. So you're going to have disturbances from the high latitude polar regions go down to the mid-latitude regions, because the equator is also heating up like crazy because of everything that's happening. The energy imbalance that the Earth has, solar radiation coming in, there's less going out than there was before, because there's overall greenhouse gas effects and other things as well. I mean, generally there's just more water now in the hydrological cycle than before, and also the oceans have absorbed a tremendous amount of heat. Well, you draw a hot bath, you know that takes some time to cool down. It does not happen immediately. Water takes a lot of energy to heat up water. So this was quite big. And if we also go here to our latest earthquakes, let's put on our 30-day, we will see that there are 3 zones of earthquakes forming in China. So here is where there's been the most. List the earthquakes. We see 5.3, 4.6. Let's put the highest magnitude though. The 6.3, 5.4, 5.3, 5.2, 5.2, 5.2, 5.0. Tons of earthquake activity here in the western part of China. But also here we've had activity, 4 magnitude 5s and a 4.6. That is unusual. And then you go to the north, not too far away here, and you get a 5.0, 5.0, 4.6. So altogether, this is pretty weird. Okay. China can get big earthquakes. And one of these earthquakes generated earthquake lights. At least there's a report of that. There was earthquake lights that came up from that. So this is one area I'm watching very closely for a big earthquake. And imagine you get a megaquake to hit China. That would not be good. That could be very, very bad. So that is certainly possible. We did just have some earthquake activity, as we can see down here. The plate boundaries. 1 second. There we go. So we've just had some activity down here in the past 2 days, basically. Let's check this out. We'll set up 7 days. Here we get these two guys, 5.3, 5.5, okay? And then up here, we have this 5.3. So there's a bit of unlocking, I would say, that's occurred here for the Indo-Australian plate, because these are key junctions right there. You also get this guy there down below, 4.5. But, you know, that's like right at these key boundaries, because there's also a, this is like a microcontinent boundary right here that they're not showing on the map, but basically cuts across. So these are key unlocking zones. And well, guess what India does? It shoves right up into China, just like that. So this, and of course we've had all the activity, Ring of Fire, really quite wild. We could be gearing up for something really big. I personally think we are. I think Earth electrification is going to really take on a new meaning very shortly for more people. At least certainly people in my area have woken up. I mean, the extension battery for my solar setup, another 1 kilowatt hour battery pack arrived today. And the guy's like, this is my 3rd EcoFlow delivery today. And I was like, well, we already have one. This is an extension battery. He's like, oh, okay. But he had a ton of EcoFlow, these batteries. They do all-in-one solar get-ups and everything. They're pretty good. They're expensive, but they're good. Plug and play. Because people are like, oh, wow, not having power for 3 days sucks. Maybe I should be a little prepared about this. So there's been tons of deliveries. But yeah, this is accelerating very quickly. It also has some interesting activity here south of Iceland. Look at all these magnitude 5s that have hit south of Iceland on the ridge. So this is very, very active. A little bit of activity here near Jan Mayen. Just a single 4.7 though. And there's, if you didn't know, there's tons of earthquake activity happening here along the smoke spine and magma buildup here just southwest of Reykjavik. Sorry, my ear's itchy. So pay attention is what that's saying. It's like, listen up, folks. This guy's not nuts. He's not crazy. And it's not 2012. Guys, I'm on Yellowstone. She's about to go. Now, I don't want to be on in the blast radius. I mean, I want to be able to see things and better understand the Earth, but I don't want to explode when the supervolcano goes. Unless that is the best thing for it to happen. So, yeah, a lot happening. And one more thing I do want to show you before I sign off, I want to make this a quicker video, is tonight we have something really cool happening. We have a Venus-Regulus conjunction. Now, this occurs every year, but this is a pretty precise Venus-Regulus conjunction. So let's give it a look. There we go. And so here is Stellarium, and we're going to load in what's happening. We actually have it true to scale right now. I'm about to run out and check this out myself, but here we see Venus, here we see Regulus. Haha. So that's pretty cool. And if we look there, we have our constellation lines. We see it's in Leo. Of course, Regulus is the main star of Leo. So this is a pretty benevolent, regal conjunction. And I encourage you to go outside to check this out after the sun sets if you can do so. So that is your update for today. I'll be back with more information, but I just want to basically get in front of you the fact that earthquake risk, high magnitude earthquake risk, magnitude 7+ is heightened for the foreseeable future for the next 5 days. And in general, things are going to be getting more active as we go forward. So I'll keep you up to date on all that. And we have a couple things off. I'm not answering super thanks other than these. Edgar Casey's predictions. Yeah, I really put no faith in his predictions personally. I don't feel any resonance or connection to him. They seem like nonsense to me. Now, I've had my own precognition dreams and things of this nature, so I don't discount that or the ability to have there to be prophecy. Like, I don't discount that, but what he predicted just seems to be nonsense to me. I just simply have zero resonance with it. Not at all. Zero. Sorry. If you like the guy, I don't know what to say. For me personally, just speaking as myself, I have zero resonance with the guy. There's nothing bad there. I just don't feel it at all. Thank you, BGB, for the super thanks. And that is it for today. So thank you all so much for joining in. I've been your host, Stefan Burns, geologist, geophysicist, space weather guy, your cosmic bro, here to help you understand what is happening on Earth energetically. Subscribe to stay up to date. I release videos almost daily. Smash that thumbs up button to help the channel grow. And I'll be back with more. So hope to see you then. Have a great day. Wish you all well and talk soon.